Okay, ladies, welcome. This is group session. Who knows? Our topic is sensual emotional intelligence, actually, and it's April 10th. But I'm doing a little check-in with everyone. Leah, let me know. How's life? How's it going?
Just been surviving.
Surviving.
That's how I like to call it. Survival mode.
Yep. Yeah. Kids, emotion, season, what is it?
I think stemming off from what me and you talked about in our individual session, kind of came back up, but I just trying to, I don't know, survive.
Reprogram.
Almost like numb in a way. That's
Mm,
kind of where I'm at right now.
okay. Okay.
It just feels too deep to even tap into right now that I'm just letting my body just I don't know, rest in a way.
That's a good that's gonna be kind of related to what we talk about a little bit today. Marta, welcome.
Hey.
Um, obviously we talk a lot about emotions and processing, but I do believe there are certain topics that are so deep within us. It's not like a little weed we just like plop out. It takes a lot of intention, and I say this all the time, the more deeper to like this deepest core wound that we're struggling with, um, the more time, the more nurturing, the more layers it takes. And I think sometimes people come into this work and they're like, let's just, get it out like that. And I've said it before, if we're processing a simple trigger, something like a mini tiny one little fender bender car accident, that's way less to process than anything that's like, as we say, complex trauma. Anything that like the earlier in our life, the more severe or the more times it's happened, right? Like a redundant theme. Okay, that's going to take some time to rewire. And a lot of times, those traumas, the reason why they're so hard to unweave, we all have them. I mean, fortunately, I've been able to really identify like the core ones I've been working through, but they're all related to oftentimes attachment trauma or those attachment relationships, right? Like when I needed help or I needed safety or I needed to be validated, was I? And if we didn't feel like that happened, then we shape our entire life existence around that identity issue. Whether I'm not safe, whether I'm always abandoned, those schemas that I had you guys take. Definitely talk a little bit about that, how we grew up in those environments. So yeah, we're going to touch into that a little bit. So I'm glad you told me. So that's why I'm checking in with everyone. Where's everyone at? So what we talk about can relate to what we do. Thanks for sharing. Um, Julie, go for it.
Yeah, well, what I've been pondering on today, I'm actually really excited to maybe I can see how this is gonna fall, like learning all these skills about how to cultivate peace, cultivate all that, all those good feelings is gonna really fall into like literally every aspect of my life. And the aspect I've been pondering about is childbirth. So I really am super into like natural childbirth and all of that stuff. I had my second baby at home, which was wonderful, but there was some things that happened. There were some things that happened during my birth, like my little one, she had a shoulder dystocia. So there were the way that my midwife reacted, the position she put me in, like physical position to birth. I don't know, just this has been really nagging at my heart, even though she's already 1.5 years old. But I just can't get over it. And when I brought it up to her back in the day, I was she basically said in the situation that happened, like that's what made most sense. But I did a lot of reading about this topic, and so I was like, "There's no way, like we could have done this or that." And so I ended up reaching out. Maybe I'm going into too many details. So I'll kind of try to make it short. Um, Anyways, I was thinking about how all of this stuff relates to birth, and I really wanted like a supernatural, pain-free birth. It didn't happen. I feel like a lot of the stuff that I learned kind of flew out the window as soon as I experienced some pain. But um, I think being able to cultivate that peace inside of yourself, because in one of the pain-free course, like I took a pain-free course, and she talked about how when you experience oxytocin, your body literally cannot experience pain if it's flooded with oxytocin. And so I knew all that, but I think I just didn't really know how to cultivate that oxytocin when I was trying to feel all those things. Um, and so I feel like when I'm gonna learn how to really be able to sit down and cultivate all those good feelings, I think with my next one, and I'm gonna switch midwives and stuff, but I think with the next one, I'm gonna be a lot more likely to get the pain-free birth if I can, because it's all mental, it's mental work. I mean, it's all in the head, right? Um, so I guess my point is being able to cultivate that stuff will help me be able to cultivate that during labor with the next baby. I'm not pregnant or anything, but I'm already thinking about it because we want to get pregnant in about half a year. But I don't know. I'm just really excited because I can totally see how it could help me during birth. And so I've been thinking a lot about that today.
Okay. Good to know. Obviously I've not birthed a physical child. I've birthed many emotions. But I'll tap into that a little bit. Obviously, all of you girls are more pros on this topic than I am. I remember I listened to a podcast about this one guy. Well, he was interviewing a midwife lady, and she had many successful, beautiful experiences, and his wife was pregnant at the time. And so, anyways, and she was talking about the best way to cultivate that oxytocin is to be in a place where your brain, that scanning brain, what's going on, who's that, what's that light, what's that sound, that all that has to like turn off. So you're not scanning external stuff, and you can almost like hunker in and almost like hibernate in your cocoon world of safety or whatnot. And she talked about um uh, kind of quick synopsis. She talked about like animals. She's like, animals have their pen, whether it's like a sheep, a goat, a rabbit, it doesn't matter. A cat, they studied that. When they have their own space and they know exactly what's going on, exactly what's happening, like that level of safety. And that's like, I'm going to parallel it a lot to emotional work, because it's like, it's really hard. And if any of you girls have done any kind of individual session, like it takes time to even cultivate your presence and time with me as your emotional midwife. Where do you go? What room are you in? Like, let's say in my counseling office, it's like everything's always the same. Everyone knows exactly what they're coming into. Like that environment is conducive to that familiarity, which helps people just drop their guards, and they don't have to be like, who's that coming in, or who's that knocking on the door, or today I have this therapist, tomorrow I have that one. It's the same thing with like birth. And so they were saying with animals is when they have everything that's their own, their nest, nothing is disrupted. They studied cats. They enter a level of oxytocin where that part of the brain can shut down, scanning for threats, for changes. However, not to scare anyone or myself. However, they did say when a cat, so think of a human, was disrupted during that like nesting labor time, when the cat was disrupted and that oxytocin kind of took a break because the cat's like, who's that? What's going on? It was then really, really challenging to get back into that oxytocin flow. Not to scare anyone, but the point of like this episode, this podcast was, and it's exactly kind of what you're talking about, Julie, is starting to familiarize yourself with yourself. Who do you want to be with? Who's your midwife? What's the area? Who's going to be in and out? What's the plan? Not saying everything is going to always run 100% perfect, but it kind of comes down to, here's what I've decided, here's what makes sense, and then that more intuitive feeling of, here's probably what does feel good. I'm guessing midwife said, do this, be in this position, but I'm feeling like I need this. And you just kind of trusting yourself to go and control. No different than, I'm taking you ladies, you guys have, well, some of you have done sessions with me. I'll give you options, I'll give you tools without trying to overwhelm you in the moment. You want to do this? Or does this make sense? What if you tap into that? And you girls, what I'm trying to develop is that intuition of what makes sense. No, I don't need this right now. Okay, this feels more, this makes sense. Actually, no, not this, this. And the more you guys can like grapple with that and have that again, intuition, that flow, the more at ease you are to birthing whatever it is that you're birthing, from emotions to maybe a baby. So, yes, as you continue to connect yourself as a woman, your intuition, all these different life experiences, like you said, even cultivate like what does feel safe. Okay, for me, when I'm panicking, breathing like this helps, or not, or moving my body stretched out, or I need to come in. All these things, and that's why I keep saying, like, in the moment of crisis, it's really hard to be like, do this, if even in your calm periods, you've never been able to like extract and utilize any of that. Does that make sense? So more power to you, Julie, and we will help you continue to just cultivate what it is that you need in your crisis episodes. But it's also gonna be, yeah, as weird as it sounds, like less strategy and planning. I should do this and do that, as much as like hunker in. What does your body need right now?
Mhm.
Martha, what's up?
Hey, gosh, I've been processing today. Um, so this whole past week, my mother-in-law was with us, and I've expressed to you in the group, just some of the triggers and just my relationship with her. And I felt like our time together was very good. And I say that because I felt like this whole week I was really processing and thinking about like, okay, how is my body responding, on a daily basis? How are things feeling? Is something triggering to me? Why is it triggering to me? Um, but I guess I'm having such a hard time like discerning like why this relationship feels so hard. Yeah, I don't know. Like whether it's like feeling so constantly misunderstood. And I was thinking about all of the, you know, trying to not do or say anything that or just being aware of what I'm saying or what I'm doing, thinking about like, is this, am I filtering what I have to say because I'm worried about what she's thinking or worried about what she's what she's going to think of me. I was trying to be really cognizant of that. Um, but still at the end of the week, I'm like, okay, there was a couple moments where I did feel really triggered. Um, and I guess I'm having a really hard time. I'm like, Holy Spirit, like, why is this relationship so hard? I feel like that's the only relationship in my life that's like really, really tough right now. So,
First of all, I'm very sorry to hear
yeah.
a relationship that we all probably hoped for would be successful and good. It seems so strenuous and challenging, because that's not fun for everybody. And the other thing that I'm probably going to suggest to you is, especially when you're beginning this, I don't expect anyone to mentally process and identify anything. I don't expect any of you to immediately be like, wow, this is connected to this and this means that and that. It's not even the goal. I think in the beginning for you, and I think I've mentioned it before, I think in the last call I did, or video or something I did, I think I told you the only thing I care about you is just like, for you, is to notice what are you feeling?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you feel it in your body? And just allow yourself to feel it. Take a deep breath and send like boatloads of love and compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Because you like judging yourself, what's going on, what's wrong with me? Because that's the thing, like it could literally be not you at all. Like you could be,
That's what my husband says all the time when I try to talk about this. I'm like, he just continues to say like it's her problems, right? Um, but I'm like, why do I carry it? Like why do I feel like, the things that she says, you know, just like I like process it so much in my mind.
is it okay if I help you process right now a little bit?
Thank you.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
So I want you to just, if you want, you can close your eyes, whatever makes you feel comfortable. And I want you to just identify what part of your body is activating. Like, where do you feel it?
In my chest, for sure, right now.
You can put your hand on your chest, whatever connection you're gonna, you take a deep breath, and you're just tuning into that space. And I'm gonna ask you 0 to 10, 10 being the highest. Like, I can't do this. 0 is peace. Where are you at right now?
I think like an 8.
Okay. So typically, if I have someone I'm working with and they're that high, I'm gonna say, let's pause. I'm not gonna push you further, okay? So all I want you to do is, we're gonna make this up, right? I want you to just send so much love into your heart, into your chest, and I just want you to just breathe out. And like, just you noticing and connecting to your heart and your feelings right now is already, again, you connecting and showing love for yourself. Because you're not telling yourself, stop it, get it over with. Who cares? Grow up. We're not talking to ourselves like that. And you're gonna send whatever love message you need to this beautiful girl within you, woman. I want you to spend a little bit of time and then share with me what's something comforting that you're sending yourself a message.
I guess just knowing that like I'm safe in my home, and that like she's not here. Like I feel like her just being in my home like does, stir up anxiety.
You're gonna be telling yourself you're safe. You're at home right now. You're at peace. You're in your own space. Like that cat we talked about, nesting and finding that oxytocin. Like right now, probably the biggest way to help you calm down is just physically knowing you're in your own safe space and there's physical distance with her. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And I want you to remind and encode that in your system right now, that you're safe and you're okay and you can breathe and like let all that out. Deep breaths really help expand the chest. A lot of times we feel so tight or hunkered down, and just physically kind of moving that helps a lot. Good job. Zero to 10, where are you now?
Or
You feel it like really substantially going
yeah.
down. And I want you to continue to just flood yourself with the love and light that you need. Because oftentimes before we can even jump into the hard stuff, it's like what Julie was saying, we need to cultivate, we need to bring in some good stuff, something that's like actually hopeful for us to feel.
Mhm.
And if for you, it's relief. If it's for you feeling something good and warm, for you, if it's feeling like you can finally breathe and expand your lungs, like that's the only goal I really care about then right now. Because it's not about processing mother-in-law, because if it's not mother-in-law, it's going to be something else. And
Right.
in the moment, sometimes just sounds like sending that love is honestly step one. And when I say step one, that doesn't mean it's basic. I mean, it's fundamental. So I'm gonna teach my little topic here a little bit.
Yes, thank you. That was just like immensely helpful.
Yes. So the point is, the reason why I wanted to bring this to you, and that's the thing, like this happens all the time. A client comes in and says, I want to talk about this. We're not even ready to talk about that. Like, I get it. That's so pressing and we want to, but it's like, whoa, unless I maintain some level of peace or control, in me, you know, if you've seen that PowerPoint presentation video I did about closure, stabilization, activation scale, if you're that high, we ain't processing nothing. You're just gonna traumatize yourself. What's the
Uh-huh.
point? Because when
Right.
you're that high, it's like the world is ending, life sucks. Who cares about this? Like we all had this, right? Do I even want to continue? Do I even care about this? Is this even important? Like that's not where we're like really healing in that level of extremeness. That's when we're
Mhm.
feeling full blown pain. And yeah, I mean it's a little different. And so
That's
just
what I've been like realizing is like, you know, it's like that is such a big issue in my life, but I know that there's like so many other underlying, you know, identity issues or like, you know, so many other like issues around like, you know, how I see myself and why something like my mother-in-law impacts me so much, you know, and I'm like, I want to get to those things and I don't even know where to start.
yeah, and so you're gonna remind yourself a lot because like here's the thing, if it's not your mother-in-law, then it's your friend, it's your husband.
Right.
As much as we oftentimes want to point fingers, uh,
Right.
just mean as much as we want to be like it's you, why are you doing
Sure.
this? Like I have learned no one can trigger or bother something in us that we're not already struggling with ourselves.
Mhm. Right.
Period. And and you're gonna even remind I like how you're already kind of processing like wow it's so easy and so tempting for me to be like it's my mom-in-law, what is she doing, her behaviors, why is she attacking me, why is she going back to what wound, what core identity, what issue is within me that keeps being resurrected, that if I believe God wants me to heal, it's being exposed.
Mhm.
And then all you're doing is the healing stuff with yourself. You know, I've talked about it with you girls openly here, right? You know, I remember when before I was married, there was this lady I'd like listened to. I just sometimes I'll find my like YouTube people, and even if they can sometimes like preach about things like I don't agree with, but I just kind of like their personality, or I like how these women talk, right? I found this lady who talked a lot about like relationships and life, and she's definitely like a pretty good life coach, I would say. I don't know how she has so many skills. She's good at what she does. And she's like, I had one miserably failed marriage. And then, you know, found another guy to get married to. And she's like, ladies, let me tell you. Well, she was talking about like pregnancy, and she's like, if you're older, I recommend having kids right away. But if you're younger, like wait at least a year because all your stuff is gonna come out and all your childhood traumas and your triggers and all of that. And I remember I've learned about this, right? And I was engaged at the time, and I was like, oh gosh, what's gonna be triggered in me? Because I was already like learning a lot about my own nervous system and how am I responding. And you know, I remember when we got married, like my husband made an observation about one of my responses. And it was like, you know, I could have been mad and offended, but I was like, wow, like no one has ever given me that feedback because no one has ever seen me in such a just like a close setting like that. Or no one would, you know, just even tell me, right? And so I remember starting to kind of work on my nervous system and stuff like that. And then when I started to uncover the deepest of the deep of the deep, deep, deep wounds, as we've talked about the abyss before, especially like before your period or wherever your hormones are or whatnot. I'm like, wow, it's so easy to be like, you just want to project that on the other person. Like with I don't even have to like talk to him, you know, I just can like imagine in my mind like anger or frustration or woundedness or betrayal, like just these like flooding, insane, deep feelings, right? And yet I still know in my head, as much as I want to be like, look what you've done, look what you've brought up in me. I know that those are just core wounds I've had my entire life. And he is the light, the love, the God, basically, in a way, I guess, in my life. The Jesus, right? That exposes the deepest stuff. And in those moments, it's one thing to like seek support and ask, but I also know I can't bypass feeling all this stuff and like flushing it out like a toilet, you know? And it's like what we were talking about with Leah earlier. Leah mentioned like processing some really deep stuff, and sometimes it just feels like survival mode. It's like it's so much, and that's how it is. Like we go through these phases, and we go deeper and deeper, and even this like life coach lady was like saying like process it, do the work, talk to your partner, be vulnerable, do what you got to do, and just know with every valley that you encounter with any emotion or any life issue, when you go through it, especially as the woman, like I don't know how men process stuff, but women, like we emotionally submerge in those emotions, right? It's like you can't bypass it. But on the other side, it's always greater connection, greater bliss, greater healing, light, love, etc. So anyways, kind of going back to like what you've said, what you're processing, I still have my moments where I'm like, whoa, it's like a vortex I just got like sucked into. Is this a healing time where I'm actively providing solutions? Is it me just letting myself feel all that has obviously been like Pandora's box stuffed within me? Can I just sob and cry, and can I just let myself do that? If I need to like yell and yell out the pain, can I let myself just do these crazy ridiculous things, but somehow my body is purging, right? So no different than any woman here. I don't care if you are a coach, like you're still a student in your own life. We're all processing things, and we just have to know, okay, is this like a problem solving time? Is this just like I need loads and buttloads of compassion and love? I need to take a break. But you know what, right now I'm so vulnerable. I don't need to process. I just need to be still. And all of that comes into tuning in with like what is it that we need right now. But the greatest, again, message I want to share with everyone here is greatest and biggest message when we're triggered, when we're hurt, it's just our own stuff. And people happen to somehow illuminate that, even if they don't even mean it. And I have a husband who just like regularly tells me, regularly, I love you so much. You're so special to, okay, here's one. You're so special to me, right? Here's the thing. If I have some moments where I don't feel special, and that's something, I'm processing, it doesn't matter if he worships me or tries to prove himself or write a letter. It doesn't even matter what he can do. If I am not feeling special or worthy or loved or whatever, right? We all have that. Whatever our wound is, no one can fill that cup for us unless we start to like figure out how to patch it and heal, right? So it's a huge all of this is between you and yourself, essentially, not in an isolating way. Yeah, Julie, what's up?
I have a question. So, how everybody says nobody can fill the inside of you, only Jesus, right? That love or whatever. But I feel like a lot of the times, how do I phrase this? It seems like a lot of the times once we heal, I get like God's among all of that. God's in the healing. Maybe it's a dumb question. How do I phrase this right? Like, feels like maybe it's not Jesus that fills it sometimes. It's like us that cultivates it or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
That's actually a really good question. I'm glad you asked that. How do we answer this? I truly believe that there are these truths that I choose to believe. I choose to believe certain biblical truths about God, Jesus, all of the above, that talk about like you are loved, you are precious, you are worthy, all of these positive, godly, holy identity statements about us. But kind of like Julie mentioned, I really believe that we are responsible. Yeah, you can say with God's help, but we're it's not that like I read this Bible verse and boom, everything is patched in my life and I feel perfect. It's like, okay, what's coming up in me that's resisting feeling this? Like, let's say my husband said, I'm so special, and like that day something came up, and now like I don't feel special. And I mentioned this before, like your feelings are facts for you in that moment. Something's coming up, some kind of resisting data. I know in my head, I know capital T truth, I'm special, I'm loved, I'm worthy, and I have a husband like Jesus trying to pour that into me, right? But what's happening in me, in my cup, in my bucket of like my core, who I am as a woman, where there's a hole here. What's happened that I've picked that up, that message where like say I'm not worthy? You know, what are the experiences? You know, I was processing something recently about my husband, and I'm like, this like logically doesn't even like really make sense. But the feelings that the reason why I feel like it bothers me is, and I was able to actually connect it to something with early friendships in life with girls. You know, my husband's not a girl, but there's something relationally I felt that was off. And so me repatching my identity, not just mentally, but emotionally. And like I said, I don't know how to like heal without purging the lies, the hurts, the pains that we've picked up in life. Right? Whether it's like someone feels like they have to always be in approval seeking mode, bend over backwards. They feel like if they aren't overgiving themselves, you know, they're going to be called a bad person. I remember I had a video where I shared there was something about me being labeled disrespectful that I just had a hard time like standing up for myself, especially with like older people, you know. And that is that stuff that we're letting go and saying, no, you know, I am able to have boundaries. Okay, in that situation, that wasn't fair. Or, okay, I could see how your perspective, this is what you believed, and this, and the other person had a totally different perspective. We're bringing in, again, identifying those holes and those pains. Okay, no one's denying that, right? And then what is it that we do need to fill it up? And what Leah, Julie, Esther, Marta, myself are going to need in those moments are going to differ. But that to me is that spiritual holy work that we're doing, like with God's help, with God's true word, true truth. We're patching up what we believe. And yes, that's going to go into like your nervous system work, your identity. It's all very spiritual to me. But I just, again, Julie, like I don't believe we can read a Bible verse and just mentally feel like, okay, we're patched up. Because if you're still hurting, if you're still triggered, if you're still crying, we still need that attention, and you have to go into it. You can't expect Jesus to take over and you're just going to sit there like this, you know, and that's not going to happen. So yeah, I mean, the way I look at it is we are co-creators with Christ. We co-labor. It's such a co thing. I depend on his truth, but I understand I have to show up for this type of work. And I have to identify, and I'm not scared to do it anymore, because it's like every time I struggle, and I use my husband as an example because he's like the closest person in my life right now. Anytime something happens and I'm projecting something on him in my head, I'm usually not like going crazy at him, but I'm like, wow, that's interesting. If I'm struggling with this, this is an absolute issue I probably have with God. You know, if I'm mad about a certain topic, I'm probably feeling like, God, where were you? Why did you do this? Did you drop the ball? Did you not care about me? You know? And so that helps me by default repair my relationship with God over and over, deeper and deeper. As I repair my relationship, you know, with God, I'm repairing my relationship with myself. And it's such a, and then the rest of my life reflects that. My husband benefits from that. Right? Esther, how you doing? You can just in the mic chat let us know. We're just checking in with everyone. We'll see if we do the presentation thing today or not. Remember, we're always flexible. If you're busy, that's okay. Esther's doing good. Esther is super blessed. Do you have any other questions? You know, we're open. No? Okay, so since we kind of started to talk about this, let's just kind of go into it. I'm going to show us our presentation. So all of us, at least this type of work, this season in your life, we're all tapping into emotions. Um, I'm kind of not, I guess not copying, but you know, I'm in a lot of different groups, and one girl was explaining things. None of it was necessarily new, but I still love it when, you know, another woman speaks about this topic, right? And she was talking about, you know, we'll go into it. She was talking about sensual emotional intelligence. And the whole purpose of everything she was talking about is, think about sensual, you're tapping in and feeling. Oftentimes just the word emotional intelligence just means I mentally am able to like pull out that feelings wheel and say I'm sad or I feel happy, and we don't recognize that it's still in our head, versus the sensual part is dropping in. Where in your body do you feel it? What do you need right now? That deeper level of intuition, right? And she was talking about like what do you need to do when emotions come up. And at the end of that presentation, one woman was like, okay, so if I'm understanding this correctly, you're teaching us different ways to distract ourselves when we have emotions. And she's like, no, the exact opposite. Like when we're dealing with it, we're dealing with it. It's not a distraction. A distraction is when we're purposely shut it down, or even like, you know, I joke about this, you know, by the time someone all of a sudden smoked a whole pack of cigarettes, it's like, okay, whoa. Like what happened? Like there's a trigger. You don't just, you know, smoke out a whole box. And when we tune in, we're like, what? We don't even notice how subconsciously we react to things, right? So the central emotional intelligence is the opposite of just distracting or subconsciously just all of a sudden like coping. It's being very in tune with what's going on. So let's see. We'll see how much I go through this presentation, how much I just chime in. Central emotional intelligence. Connecting with your body and emotions. Okay. So okay, so like I said, the emotional intelligence part, it's a lot of look at this. We can describe, there's a lot of words, you know, we can mentally, you know, make a certain connection, but the point of the sensual aspect is to really feel into it. As I've said before, sensual does not mean sexual, obviously. And so I'm going to read this little definition. Sensual emotional intelligence is about more than just identifying your feelings in your head. It means being able to fully embody and feel through those emotions and body sensations. And the whole key point of this is the more you can feel and hold without collapsing or distracting or whatever, the more uncomfortable it's like Martha, you're sitting there like, whoa, I feel like an 8. What am I going to do with this, right? The more we can like do something, the more we are actually becoming expansive. Think about it like with life. How much emotions can we process? I'm sorry, we're women. If we're becoming alive, we're going to feel emotions in life. It's not like, oh, I processed this life trauma, I will never have an emotion. No, you're going to feel a lot of things. Like we are that feeling vessel. It's no different than like, oh my gosh, I got $5 and you know, I'm so excited. I'm going to buy this yummy taco from Taco Bell, and that was awesome. That was an awesome experience. Okay, now you have $50 to go experience a whole nother type of bigger meal, right? When we think about this abundance and expansion, we're able to hold a lot. Think about like life bursting with flavor. Think about like food, literally. You can have heat, and sometimes it's like, ow, it's kind of hurts, but like, oh, it's kind of good, you know? And the more we're present and alive and connected, the more life is just abundant in that way. So, kind of a couple key principles. You girls should know this. Let me put this. You sow seed into fruit energy. So whatever seed you have, that energy will always become fruit. You can't have what you You cannot have what you can't feel first in your body and emotions, which means you must feel it first as safety and rest before you receive anything. Okay? It's no different than using a Bible verse. You can't just pretend like you mentally read the Bible and understand it. That is not a part of you or integrated until you feel it. Like, let's say there's a Bible verse that talks about like God has hope for your future to prosper, or that you're lovely and you're worthy. It's not like a mental, it's like, let me saturate this, and what about me is coming up that's saying, no, not me, that resistance. And then I work through that. It's like me bringing up that special thing that I was like processing, me working through that until I feel that. I am special. I feel it. Or I feel that safety. It's no difference than like, one of the coaches was talking about money. I posted that video and she said, if I can't even imagine having, $10,000 in my bank account because my body's freaking out already, my emotions just imagining it, do you really think that that money is going to physically be able to come into my life? Same thing as love. You want to be loved, you want to have intimacy, whatever you are, whatever your goal is. If you're trying to imagine it and already you feel weird, you feel awkward, believe me, it's not going to be able to come into your life because you already have resistance. And that's what we have to process through that. And then the feminine feels, obviously, the truest fulfillment as a woman comes from being embodied and embracing your feminine design. Then you can give back and bless from your connection to abundance. You can't, if we're again stuck in our head, you can't give from, oh, I think I know what love is and I will do, versus like, wow, I am loved. I love myself. I have a lot of love for me. It spills out. And in that abundance, again, that's how we truly bless the world. Moving on. Okay, so this is kind of a side note. It's kind of interesting because one of my coaches is big on like biological feminine masculine principles and how it like from the animal kingdom oftentimes relates to females, obviously. So tracking in biology, tracking, and we're gonna kind of parallel this into like the emotion side, but this is just like the biological brain side. Tracking refers to the ability of organisms to pursue, monitor. Hold on real quick. One second. Okay. Let me get back up. Tracking refers to the ability of organisms to pursue, monitor, or follow targets, often for survival-related activities such as hunting or navigation. Males often exhibit focused and goal-oriented tracking, so they have their focus, specializing in tasks requiring precise targeting or pursuit, such as hunting and brain. So the male brain, has its target, has its prey zoned in, and they do it really, really well. That linear, single focused, they're really good at that. Now, females excel in a broader, more holistic form of tracking, integrating sensory information to assess the environment, locate resources, and maintain social connections critical for nurturing offspring and community survival. So whereas men are good at like honing in and getting that goal and doing what they got to do, God designed the female brain to be more broad in terms of what's going on, how's everyone surviving, where are resources, what's going on in the environment. Now let's go a little deeper into emotions. Men's brains are often more adept, single focus tracking, honing in on specific tasks or objectives with intense concentration and clarity. Here's the cool thing about females. They have the enhanced ability to process and integrate information from various brain regions, including emotions, to track emotionally internally what's going on within them, and emotionally externally what's going on with other people and the environment. They excel at recognizing changes in their own and others' emotional state. So why do I bring this up? Women. You are disconnected from your body and your emotions, yourself. feeling. You are depriving yourself and your man from that sensory experience. Let me kind of get into it. So, when we were learning a little bit about this, we were talking about how like men, they just, because this is some feminine and masculine principles here, polarity stuff. Men, they get their thing done, cut, dry, boom, bada bum, you know, boring, but gets to the point. Women add so much flavor, so much life. The word eros literally means life force energy. Life, flavor, color. And when we just do things very like cut and dry, almost like man, we're reducing ourselves from like sensually feeling and feeding ourselves and giving back to the man. And actually, someone had a really good example of this at the end of our group. She was saying, she's like, because we're talking about how like men, because they don't experience that with men. They can only like experience like the woman's ability to feel an emotion or express an emotion, that sensuality part, not just survival. But she was like, this one woman was like, I've noticed when I got married in the beginning, I would like take a shower and I was just like, what soap, what lotion smells good. And I've tried to be a minimalist with some of these lotions, and I just realized I just need options. Like if I want to have mango body wash today, well, tomorrow I want citrus honey, like as much as I want to have less bottles, like I want to have my options. Like, this is a good, I'm in the mood for this. This woman's like, and I noticed like when I get out of the shower and I was just like putting on lotion on myself, like just like there's nothing like sexual. I was just like, I just enjoyed the softness, the oil, the smell. And then I would notice like my husband always was just like staring, like kind of like, whoa, like what an experience for him to see a woman be so in touch with her sensuality, sensuality, right? And again, it was like how it smells, how it feels. I'd noticed like my husband every time would just be like he just would feed off of that. That was so amazing because he's not gonna get that. That's not. I don't know unless maybe you're kind of gay or something. Like I don't see too many guys rubbing and lathering and loving it. And she's like, I noticed that as we got into marriage and we get into routine, and then I just stopped. I just like she's like, I honestly have stopped putting lotion on for the last 5 years in my life. And it's just hitting me because I want that polarity, I want that sexiness, I want that like fulfillment of a woman. I not only have I deprived my body of lotion and that whole experience, but I've deprived my husband from experiencing me as a woman. Are you girls starting to connect the point of this topic if we're talking about not just processing hard emotions, but also like experiencing the emotional amazingness that we as women literally have a gift by God to tap into and enjoy it? And I don't know, you guys can put your hands up in the air, but I think most of you girls would agree. If you're enjoying something, probably your husband loves to see you enjoy it. It's something as simple as like my husband the other day was like, I have a couple main goals in my life, and he like mentions a couple of them, and under like 3 of these main goals he has, one of them was to have a happy wife. Which the thing is, like, I know I'm responsible for my own happiness, and he knows that too. But it's like, yeah, like the reason why that's important is because what is he coming home to every day? Is he experiencing a woman who's in that eros? That's not to say I can't have an emotion, but a woman in the fullness of her feminine everything, being full and being able to, figure out what is it that I do need to get through sometimes those hard abyss experiences. But the point is, I think most of our men really want women who are really fulfilled within themselves. And how else do we do it other than tap into our emotions and body? Feel free to drop questions. We got a couple more slides. So let's say you are struggling though, as one of the coaches said, sometimes, you tap in. Leah, you talked about your experience. Martha, you had yours. Julie, you had yours. I had mine. We all shared something where it's like, interesting week. Wow, this is what's surfacing, or this is what's been coming up the last couple of weeks I've been processing, or here's the season of healing or whatever, right? And I like to kind of break it down into 2 categories a little bit. Like, yes, we can have a problem solve category. And that's not to say, oh my gosh, I feel an emotion, I just shut it down right away. No, that's not what I mean. Okay, that we're not cutting off, we're not distracting. It's like what we did with Marta today. What do you need to do with that distress and activation coming up? We didn't shut it down, we didn't humiliate it, we didn't yell at it, we didn't say, now's not the time for this. We said, let's tap into it and let's just, in our imagination, send so much love and warmth and put your hand over your heart and breathe out. And wow, that helped a lot, right? Validate, wow, that was really hard for you. I even said in the beginning, like, who doesn't desire to have a good relationship with their mom-in-law? Like, ow. And sometimes, like, even having someone else hear that or ourselves give that to ourselves really helps. You can imagine a solution. I've done this many times with myself or other people. I oftentimes will imagine Jesus coming in, or just a totally different outcome, or what, creating what I need to in that moment feel that alleviation, right? Do I need to do something? I need to get up. Do I need to just move around? Do I just need to lay flat in my bed and in fetal position, or do I need to lay down on the ground and extend myself up? Like, no one can tell me what I need in that moment. Ladies, the ones I've had sessions with, I give you options, but only you can know what feels good, what does not. And that's how you start to continue to tune into your vessel. You become more intuitive. I feel like I need this. Logically, I have no idea, but I feel like, going on a drive, opening windows at the night is going to help me feel good. Okay, do it. Do it, right? And the reason why we do problem solve is if we are in that fight, flight, freeze mode, polyvagal, and we need to kind of like emergency, maybe reset. So it's very proactive. That's different than what do we need, and we just need to be with it, be with ourselves. Wow, I feel so much grief. I feel so much heaviness. I feel sadness. It's processing with one of my friends once. I had to let go of a certain friend, totally disappeared. I think she was just coping in her own life with her own ways. There's nothing I can do. I can't beg. I don't want to beg for attention. And I just had to be like, I have to let go. And there was a part of me that had to grieve the fact that, like, I was so hopeful for this friendship and all these things that were coming up, and it didn't turn out the way I was wanting it. Nothing bad. I don't think I was a bad person, for wanting a friendship. But it's not like, oh, I need to get this feeling over with. I just need to move on. No. I just need to sit and feel it. And I had like a 2-second, like, I don't know if you've ever had this when you almost kind of want to cry, but it's this like deep breath out, shaky. I was like, yeah, that meant a lot for me. And I talked to myself. Did I go and text her and say, where are you? None of that, I let myself be with it. And I even said, God, I bless this girl. She's meant to come back. Bring her. I let go. And when I said I let go, I got teary-eyed and let myself sit in that, right? So again, sometimes we do need to problem solve, do something in the moment, And sometimes it's like, no, you just got to sit and feel it, and there's no other way. Okay, steps to integrate. We're kind of coming up to our close. Okay, let's say you have an emotion come up, okay? What are you feeling? So sure, that could be that emotional intelligence. I feel annoyed, I feel irritated, I feel so heavy. Okay, but let's actually go deeper in that central aspect. Where do you feel it in your body? And I do it with the girls all the time in sessions. Not just what do you feel, where in your body. Get specific. Feel it. Don't just skim the surface. Annoyed. Can you feel that annoyance going through your body? Because there's no other way to purge it out. We're just pausing, we're noticing, we're not making any judgments, right? Then you hold that feeling, meaning you're present with it. You're not shooing it away, changing the topic, distracting. You're present, no judgment. Marta, it's like this is not for you to be like, wow, this is bad that I'm having this feeling about my mom. No, it's not. A feeling is a feeling. Okay, you're not wishing her ill will, you're not wishing her death, I mean, you can feel certain things, but you're just like, whoa, what's coming up in me? And you're just holding that. You're not rushing, you're not shutting down. And that's that expansion. Some clients, when they're beginning this work, okay, they can only handle like, until in terms of intensity, like this much discomfort, but we're stretching it to feel more. Or they can handle it for, okay, 2 minutes. Okay, I'm shutting down too much energy. Or, okay, now we can do 10 minutes. You guys understand? Like, literally, this is how you expand yourself. And the more you can hold and not, it's the same thing as Julie was talking about birth. I hear it all the time. One of my girls was like telling me, she's like, I was having birth, birthing. And she's like, you get to a point where it's like, I'm gonna die. She's like, I had this moment. I feel like I'm dying. But then I know I'm not. But I had to be like, hold yourself, hold yourself, let all these emotions and all this come through you while you hold yourself. And that's exactly what we're trying to do in this work, that dual reality. Wow, I feel this discomfort, this dilation happening within me. Oh, it's purging, this crying. But I'm okay. I'm feeling a feeling. I'm experiencing the skills Elena taught me. Like the more we have to hold ourselves, the more we can do a lot. And then, third point, your expansion, the more you hold in your body, the more you can stay safe in your body. So in the beginning, when I work with clients, especially counseling clients, it's like I feel so much all the time, but I'm collapsing or I can't even get past activation point 2 without being like, stop. I'm going to dissociate, change the topic. I can't handle it. And that's what we're trying to hold more. And the thing is, it's not just like these hard emotions, it's even the good pleasures in life. More joy, more excitement, more bliss, more euphoria. Ladies, I've met plenty of girls where it's like they can't even like laugh out loud because that's too much. Can you imagine you like laughing so freely that a whole crowd hears you and you're not collapsing or feeling embarrassment? It's amazing. Biblically, let's add a verse. Faithful over little, faithful over much. That's the only way we grow. Okay. So a couple examples. What is it like to remember your experiences as okay, wait. Remember what it is like to experience life as a little girl. So one of the coaches gave a great example of like little girls, especially like when they're open in their purest heart and intentions. I mean, think about even yourselves, ladies, and we're tapping into a lot of that, right? I remember putting on this dress when I was little. It was some Middle Eastern dress that I got to borrow from some lady. And, I was small and she had a bigger body, and I was swimming in that dress of bedazzlement. It was literally Middle Eastern. Yeah, this massive mirror, and I was like, everyone get out of the house. You need to turn on music. Just flow and dance. And like, if you see a child like that, like in love with their so pure, so genuine, how do you not like rejoice to see that liveliness and purity? I would argue that's no different than us in current life. My husband took me out when we were dating to go country swing dance. And I'm like, I could be like, ooh, awkward, ooh, foot here, ooh, and that's not gonna be fun for me nor him. And I was like, who cares? Like, he's leading me, he can spin me around. And I let myself, like, how do I say this? Like, just submerge into my body and smile and laugh and just have a fun time. I'm this guy who's just twirling me and knowing him, seeing me enjoy this is the only reason why he's coming here. Let's be honest. And when we were leaving, this one woman was, and I love a woman who can give another woman a compliment. She's like to him, she complimented me saying something like, I don't know, said something really positive, like, oh, she's adorable, or she's a gem, or don't lose her. And like, think how like awesome that feels when you're already, and that's those like abundance principles. You're in that abundance, you're enjoying life, and it always gets multiplied. Someone will add to it, right? Okay, mud grass. We've seen kids play in mud and grass. I mean, they're just so in it, submerged. Talk about a sensual experience, right? Like the griminess, the all of that. Um, think about a child with bubbles, whether they're blowing or one child was taking a bath. I mean, it was like, look at this color, you know, especially girls, and I just put it on my beard, and do you like how long it you know? And it's just like it's you just get sucked in. And what I'm saying is we have the same when we look at little kids, and that's I said babies, puppies, all of that. But what about a man seeing a woman? Like, wow, do you see these earrings, and then you know, and this little lips, you know. But you have to like get into that and feel. That's that sensual aspect, right? Like a quick example, child's gift. That one time I was working and this random child came up to me at work. She's like, here. And it was these little tiny dead dandelions or whatever she picked, and she even put a little paper towel around it. I mean, it was the most, I mean, we see those on the ground all the time, but it was just like the purity of this girl's heart. I was like, oh, me? Right? I gave you the lotion experience, greeting even your man, saying hello. We all choose how we embody. I try to, even if I'm cooking or whatever, when my husband comes home, I try to show up, smile, embrace that feeling, because I know it could go dead. I know I don't have to, but I also know he doesn't have to do anything back either. And so when I tap into what it feels to be like a woman, to continue to cultivate and be in those feelings, I think it feels good for the both of us. And again, another example, dressing up, doing your hair, all these little things. I get it. Like, it's not like every day, you know, I can sit here and just spend so much time trying to be pretty, you know, especially having kids or whatever it is. But I'm just saying, like, it's like that woman with that lotion experience. She's like, by the time I get to this point in my marriage where I'm like, why is it so dry? Why is it so dead? I look back at all the things I forfeited and let go of. Simple. Putting on lotion for myself. It doesn't have to be a 5-minute experience. It could be 7 seconds, you know? But all these things that we eliminate, this like sensual, sensory, beautiful experience that takes away from us and obviously our man, and then for marriage and just life in general. This is our last slide. So why is this important? Again, to feel, to sense, you have to be vulnerable. And sometimes that means you're seen, you're heard, your heart is experienced. I remember I was like crying and sharing something with my husband. And then I'm like, oh, you're probably so tired. Having me cry. I'm not that I cry 24/7, but you know, I'm like, it's vulnerable. He's like, no, are you kidding me? It was so interesting. He's like, I was single for like such a long time. He had a girlfriend, but then he was single for a while. She's like, you just, as a man, you don't get to feel anything. You don't get to touch anyone. Like, it's just, you live your isolated life as a man. And when you have a woman in your life and she shares her vulnerable feminine heart, that just like feeds you and connects you to life as a man. And I'm like, that makes sense. That makes sense, you know. And then he was able to help and comfort me. The capacity again to handle more joy, more pleasure, more responsibility, more. We're becoming stewards of more. All the things that we desire, it starts with the little things. Sharing with others when appropriate. It's relational. We don't have to do this as isolated people, especially as women. Women heal in communities like this, in relationships. We're relational. We have to connect. I just don't think women were created to just do their own thing by themselves all the time. And then this is probably my favorite point. The fruit of your life shines to others as a testimony of God. When you are shining, when you are radiating, when you are free, when you are joyful, when you are happy, when you are playful, when you are all these things, that to me shines God, right? And that's not because like you're perfect and you always have good emotions. It's like, no, I could have literally processed something super deep last night and it felt heavy and bad. But because I was able to go through it and process it and like rebirth myself, then I'm able to like feel relief, or a part of my identity is more wholesome, or I can step out and do something now that maybe, previously I would have never. And to me, that's how we walk from glory to glory. And to me, that's how like God literally shines through us. Ladies, I know we went a little over time. Talk to me. What questions and comments you have? Hopefully this, we talk a lot about emotions, but I wanted to add that sensuality part because it's for us, first of all. I really do believe God created it for us. And I think, the more I understand it, like, man, it really enriches a man's life. And that's what they want to feel. That when we say like women, as feelable as you are to yourself, that guaranteed is how much a man can feel you. You can't feel anything, you're stone cold, you don't feel an emotion, you don't feel an expression, you can't tell me what tastes good, what feels good. What's he gonna feel? Let me know what questions you have. I know we're a little over time. Marta, give me a little reflection. What was helpful? I'm gonna do a check-in with everyone and then we'll wrap up.
Well, there was so much that I identified with. I think about what you had to say about like the lotions and how, I'm such a minimalist. And over the years, I've like gotten rid of everything. And I'm like, I just need one. I should only need one, And I'm like, it's totally okay. Like I should go out and I should get more, of those like perfumes or lotions or whatever, because I think they smell beautiful, and I just think about how that, has impacted my marriage. It's like my husband doesn't really see me do that anymore, like putting lotion on or, um, it's like, even as a mom, like I don't get myself put together as often as I used to, when I had a job and I was getting, dolled up every day. But now it's like I'm in my pajamas or in comfortable clothes, or I won't get my hair done or my makeup done, just because I'm home with the kids, and I just think about like something that could be just like a 5-minute process of like intentionality could do so much for my marriage, for my husband to see, just that light, when you feel put together, it's like that energy in you, that just comes out. And yeah, for your husband to see that and be like, wow, like you look beautiful. Or yeah, I guess something else that I was thinking about was also like, I can't think of a time that like my husband has made fun of me, but I'm also just wondering, it's like, you bring up all those different examples of like feeling so unfiltered in like your emotions, right? Like showing all of this joy and, carefree feeling. And I just like, there's almost like that fear in me. It's like, what if I were to do that? And then I were to be made fun of. Yeah. So I'm like, it's like, I want to, but then there's always like that filter of like, what if someone thought that was silly or, yeah.
I think that I'm going to start with the first part that you mentioned. You're doing these things always for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You want to smell good. You want to have soft hair. Like you're doing it for yourself, and the rest of the world always benefits. And that's why I said in the first one of the slides, the feminine feels, and she can't ever give or bless the world unless she connects with herself. It's your own experience, right? And they say the feminine has to feel good to do good. Like we have to, like that's just how we are. We all know, like when are we gonna feel the best? When we've nurtured and we look good and we feel good, all of that. That's when we do good. Men are a little different. Men need to do good to feel good. I get it. Like you can talk about having some good clothes, blah blah blah.
Sure. Yeah.
Purpose. They're like execute and now I feel proud or purposeful. So there's a little bit of that, like every morning, because that's like I really think like with you from the stuff I've picked up, part of your healing journey is what does Marta need? Not even need, like what does she desire? And not feeling like it's silly. That's how you're gonna expand your today. Well, I kind of wanted like that lotion, and I haven't even done this and that in a while. No, it's not silly. I'm
Mhm.
allowing her, because if like you're struggling to even bring up challenging or the dense stuff with your husband, I like to say that if you can't even experience the good pleasure, I mean, to me it's like a spectrum, but it's as much, I think, as much pleasure, euphoria, light, happiness, all of that you can experience and show, because that's still vulnerable. The more like, okay, here I'm struggling. This is a lot. How do I share this
Mhm.
and not hide it or whatever, right? So just to look at it as both are important, and then you're able to give your husband feedback. Hey, I feel fearful. If I share myself, I don't know why. I feel like, what if you laugh at me? What if, like that's already you bringing
Sure.
something up and expanding
Yeah.
your nervous system. And I would like to say, and this is where the truth sets us free, when we can fully be and still fully be received and loved.
Mhm.
That to me is the union that is the definition of the marriage I desire. When we try to hide aspects, whether it's, oh, if I'm too playful, or I show the heaviness and sadness in my heart, will I be rejected? So I'll never show any of that. It almost always backfires regardless.
Mhm.
You're stealing still yourself and from your marriage.
Yeah.
Hopefully that helps. Okay. Leah, give me a little bit what was helpful. I like to hear your because you girls always bring such awesome stuff.
I think something that really like spoke to me was like what we don't let ourselves feel. Like, how's anybody else gonna feel that from us? Yeah.
Yep.
That really spoke to me. And also like when I started taking care of my body and myself, like how it made me feel so good, but also hearing that feedback from my husband, like, you look so good. Like, I lost over 20 pounds or like 25 pounds. And like, because I feel good, I started dressing differently, like, even acting differently, like, and seeing how much it impacted my marriage and even being a mom, you know, to that too.
Good for you. Good for you for tuning in and going for it and figuring it out, because now you see the fruit of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good job. What about you, Julie?
Well, you said we could ask a question instead, right?
Well, I liked your reflection too.
Well, yeah. Um, I mean, just okay, reflection first. Okay.
Something that resonated or something that you picked up.
Well, yeah. So all of this stuff and then what Marta said about like the 5 minutes of getting ready and stuff, I feel like, and what you said about you have to feel good to do good. I noticed that, there's days where it just kind of, oh, life starts happening and just, the kids and I didn't like get ready for the day. And like, there are days where it's like snap, like I'm like in my robe at like 2 p.m. Hold on a second. Что? Okay, помой ручки. It's like 2 p.m. and I'm still in my robe and I'm like, wow, I was not productive at all today. Versus if I had taken like those 5-10 minutes to get dressed, to shower real quick, get dressed, do my quick makeup, all of a sudden I feel so much more productive. It's like that energy follows that.
It's true. That's a good point.
But maybe, I mean, I don't know, maybe we're out of time. Maybe I'll save my question for another time. But all of this brought up a question I've been thinking about.
Ask me a question. I'll see how much I go, and if I don't go too deep, I'll make a video about it.
Okay.
Astrid, you're next, so type up your thing if you need to.
Да, можно. Okay, so all of this reminded me of a question. You mentioned before when we talked to our husband, and I don't know if this is my question is this more for like anytime we're telling our husband anything, or if it's more that we're telling him about like a something that we don't like what we're seeing in our marriage, for example, where you keep it to 2-3 sentences. Is that for mostly everything or just kind of stuff in the conflicts? Because I had a situation where put the kids to sleep and my husband, he really needs some time like just to watch random stuff where his mind could just unplug because he has a business and it's just way too much stuff he's always thinking about. In the evenings, I didn't go such it. And in the evenings, he just needs to fully unplug. I didn't go such it. And so he does, but sometimes like and again, of course, there's always a balance. Like I try to go to bed earlier because for my health, I just need to go to bed early. So oftentimes I'm going to bed first. As stretching sorry guys. Okay. And so we had a situation where I was telling him like, oh, I just had all this stuff I wanted to tell him about my day. And I was about to tell him a story, and he's like, what was the comment he made? He made some kind of, it wasn't rude or anything, but I can't remember the comment that he made, where I remembered your remark about like 2 to 3 sentences. And then, I mean, I got a little bit hurt, but like, I felt like he didn't want to hear my story. And I was like, what? And he goes, sorry, no, I want to hear it. But I told him, it made me feel like he doesn't care about my thoughts on this, you know? And so I was thinking, I think about this often. I feel like I have shared so much with my husband. Does this rule or whatever pertain to even stories or not? Or like maybe it was just one of those times where he really wanted to watch what he was watching. I don't know. You know, it doesn't really matter. But point is, where does it pertain to?
Okay, I'm gonna break this down into like 3 things. So feminine communication is what do you need to communicate, and a lot of times if you need to communicate something, there's some kind of goal or problem solving or need for that repair or connection. Okay, because it's not like you cannot talk unless you have a 2-3 sentence and then wait for the next hour. That's not what that is. That is something vulnerable you need to bring up, something that needs to come to his attention. That's why we say 2-3 sentences is by the time we funnel, what's the story, what's the judgment, what's the fear, ramble, like that's too much. They don't need that. You girls can tell me 50 sentences an hour. I'm like, God, because my brain's like that, right?
Yeah.
So female. Them, what's the problem? What do you need? I will solve it. I love you.
Okay, so it is about problems.
So I think it's about you expressing a need. I need something. So like let's hone it in. That's not saying you can't have a conversation, but like organize your own thoughts sometimes before you come to me.
Right.
It's like, I don't know, maybe what he's gonna be like, what do you want? Like I want to help you, right?
Yeah.
The other thing is, second point, if you have a need to express, then you have to see, hey honey, I want to talk to you when you have the time. I understand it's not always gonna work out. But like for instance, if I want to talk to my husband after work, he needs to shower, he needs to eat, he needs to rest. Otherwise, I'm shooting myself in the foot. He's not prepared, he's hungry, he's tired, he's hot, etc. Right? So I'm asking for his space where he also has the mental and energetic space to give us to honor. Now, let's say you didn't have like a massive need, you just wanted to connect and share something. I think that's the thing. You can say, hey, I'd love to chit chat. I want to connect with you. I want to share something. But also recognizing, like, if he needs to decompress or do his thing, you can share like really quickly, but it's like, if you really, that's when you get to ask him, hey, is this a good time? Do you want to come back? What do you want to do? Because you're recognizing he's in his own territory. I have heard, biologically speaking, brain speaking, that a man after work needs at least 30 minutes to completely in his head turn off, decompress, readjust territory. They just really need that.
Yeah.
You can kind of navigate with that. Like, I'm not saying you can't say, oh, I can share something with you, and then he gets to decide. Because like your husband was like, huh, what? Oh, no, okay, you're right. He shifted his attention, and then he was like, let's go into
Yeah, and then he actually really enjoyed that story because he didn't know where that was heading. But I actually, yeah, it's just something I've been working on is kind of, I don't know, just that statement that you said really resonated with me because I know when in difficult situations, I can really ramble when I have a need. But okay, that makes sense. Thank you for breaking that down.
Yeah, I mean, my husband loves, but the thing is, I already know for myself, I can have stories that are so long. And he's like, babe, I love you so much. What is the point of this story? I'm like, the point are the details. The details are the point, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, you're right. This is how I would talk to my girlfriend,
Right.
okay, and I've had to, and that's not to take away the sexiness of it, but like, again, it's not about like your words. Look how cool this story is. He probably is less interested about that, Julie, than you being like, I want to share this and da, 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 and you're just like, that's that expressiveness that feeds him way more than like, I had such a good day. I did my nails. I put on makeup. Blah blah. That's dry. And I remind myself like I have one marriage. I've waited for this my entire life. I'm not taking away from myself or my husband. So how do I continue to integrate into my feminine? And instead of being like, I don't know, like let's say I had like a massage or something, like, oh yeah, I had a good massage. I'll just be like, I don't know, not to like fake anything right now, but just like, oh, it was so luxurious. And then when they like were doing this deep stuff here, and I'm just feeling so good. Just like I'm not doing it for him. I'm like I'm allowing myself to resaturate and experience that, right?
Yeah.
So, Esther, how's it going? How you doing?
Hey, it's good. I was taking a lot of mental notes because I'm single, so I couldn't really connect on that. But
Preparing.
what?
You're preparing for your dating life.
Yes, preparing definitely. But yeah, I think I like how you said that story about the lady not envisioning like, or how did you say it? Like something about the bank account like, not having that much money. And it's just like it makes so much sense when like I have seasons where I'm just down in the dumps and I just attract all this like negativity in my life. Like of course nothing good is gonna happen if I'm constantly in this mindset. So just like thinking about embodying that like what I want in my future, I guess that was really good.
Good job. You're going to continue to embody all of the things in terms of love. I know I've taken you through this exercise a little bit and we'll go deeper together. What do you want to feel? Do you feel that companionship? Because again, if you're going to tell me, I want a guy who does ministry with me, like that's great, like mentally. But what does that feel like? Because for the next girl, that's a totally different experience. Are you guys
Right.
talking a lot? Are you guys vibing? Like, what does that feel like so that when it does come into your life, you're like, this resonates with what I've been desiring.
Yeah.
Versus on the outside, I'm judging him. He's a ministry man. No, that's not going to take you as far as like cultivating that on the inside, and then it's like a vacuum. It will get pulled into your life eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, ladies, thank you for today's call. As always, we're going to try to continue this every 2 weeks. It seems like a good time because girls are showing up. So, as always, I'll keep it open and then I will narrow down some kind of topic, but we will always process whatever emotions or questions that are coming up. So, thank you everyone who's participated. Happy April. Continue to
Thank you.
participate in the talk shop, and I'll talk to you girls later. Thank you.
Bye.